Welcome to the second annual Puck Watching Awards. Please welcome your hosts, Luke and Nick Koenig.
Okay, welcome everybody to the second annual Puck Watching Awards. Yeah, clap it up. Today we celebrate the 25-26 season of the St. Louis Blues, a season that had everything. It had hope, pain, confusion, character development, and several points where we convinced ourselves this team actually might be dangerous.
Still hard.
But then they'd lose to a bottom five team in overtime or even in regulation. Today is about honoring the players who carried this team and exposing the players who made us stare silently at the wall pretty much after every game. We've got awards for team MVP, our biggest breakout player, our most frustrating player, our best and worst games of the season, and of course the incredibly prestigious You Suck Award. Now, unlike the NHL awards, though, these awards actually matter, though, Nick, because they're decided by two guys with microphones and who are brothers and have a lot of emotional trauma from watching Blues hockey pretty much 4 nights a week. The season truly had everything, though. You had young players exploding onto the scene, Jimmy Snuggerud. You had veterans getting traded, Justin Falk and Braden Shen. You had goalies becoming brick walls on one night and then traffic cones the next. And whatever the SEC team was doing in overtime for half the season as well. So we watched Robert Thomas turn into a superstar again. We watched Dylan Holloway become a fan favorite when he was healthy, at least. And then we watched multiple players earn nominations for the new Patrick Berglund Award, which we will get into. There will be some serious analysis. There will also be some irrational takes. And there will absolutely be moments where we forget a player was even on the roster, which is also an award today. This is not a normal award show. This is more of a therapy, I guess, for how this season has gone for the both of us. So let's grab a glass of champagne, maybe this Bud Light 2019 Gloria bottle, whatever, as we honor the best and worst from the 25-26 St. Louis Blues. And Nick, kicking it off with the team MVP, man. This one was an interesting poll that I this was all, by the way, fan voted. Last year, we kind of all decided it for ourselves. It was like, let's get the people involved a little bit on this and see what everybody thinks. And the team MVP, we came up with the nominations for us. So we had 4 nominees this year. So here are the nominees for team MVP: Robert Thomas, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg, and Joel Hofer. The team MVP award goes to Robert Thomas. Woo! Not a surprise here, as Robert Thomas kicks off with just another unreal season for the Blues, but in a very similar fashion, Nick, as to what we've seen in the past, at least the last 2 seasons, where, he starts to kick it off kind of really toward the end. Had some injury trouble this year, battled through it, and ultimately had an unreal last 30 games for the Blues that almost propelled them to the playoffs, but just short. But thoughts on the team MVP and maybe some of the people that did not get picked for this award?
Yeah, as for Rob, missed 18 games this year, still on a point per game trend there, though. So 64 points into those 64 games that he played. 25 goals, which he would have been on track if he had a few more games, hypothetically, to have a career high there. 39 assists, that's not all that surprising. Once that first line started kicking it into high gear with Holloway coming back, and Snuggerud with Thomas on that line, there was really no stopping that train, and Rob was seemingly getting 2 points every game for like a month straight almost. So it was really impressive. I think it's well deserved. Holloway, I don't think he played enough games. I think he was just too hurt to qualify for this award. I think Rob was like on the lowest end of the threshold to qualify for the MVP, but I still think he played enough. Holloway, I just think he missed pretty much 3 straight months. But gosh, when he got in to the lineup, was he effective? Yeah. So he had more points, more goals, and more assists than Pavel Buchnevich, who only missed 1 game. the entire year. So that's kind of indictment on Buchnevich. Broberg, though, that stat line isn't necessarily going to jump out at you, but just definition of Mr. Consistency. He's playing pretty much every single night. Lockdown defender, can also create in the offensive end as well. And someone that you're just very happy to see every single night on the ice as it relates to the Blues defense. And Hofer, man, what a turnaround. We thought that, I don't even know if this guy can play in the NHL anymore, in October, early November, to ended up having a 24-13 record and a 910 save percentage for the year on a team that was really not all that impressive almost the entire year, and managed to keep the ship afloat. And his counterpart did not have the same experience in Jordan Pennington. So Hofer, I think, easily could have qualified for the MVP, especially in those last 3 to 4 months that he played. Yeah. But I think anyone is deserving on this, but I think Rob is the most.
I think he was also top 10 in goals saved above expected as well, which what a turnaround it was for Joel Hofer. He was second in our voting, actually. So we had the 4 nominees. Robert Thomas got 41% of the vote. 25% of the puck watching fans say Joel Hofer should have gotten the team MVP, which, wild take. I don't mind it, but at points, I definitely see what they're talking about. No doubt. The guy was an MVP at a lot of points of the season. If it wasn't for October, maybe he would be the MVP. It just didn't happen that way, unfortunately. But Nick, why don't you introduce the second award today?
Yeah, the second award is the Offensive Dog Award. And I guess kind of to define this further, this one isn't necessarily an MVP award. It's just specifically in the offensive zone. And I feel like for me, when I hear about this award and how it pertains to actually who should win, I would say it's like, what kind of feeling do you get when they cross the blue line and they have the puck on their stick? Right. And I think this person is very, very well deserving of this award. And we go through the list first. Okay, I'll go through the nominees. Yes. Oh yeah, nominees first. We have Robert Thomas, late season Dylan Holloway, Jimmy Snuggerud, Jake Neighbors. I think you can kind of eliminate someone kind of right off the bat there with Neighbors there at the end. And the winner is Jimmy Snuggerud. Luke, what do you think? Why do you think, rather, he deserves this award?
So Snuggerud with 54% of the vote, over half. Robert Thomas was the second at 30%. And yeah, Nick, this one was an interesting result for me, because I think it's very easy to say that Robert Thomas also deserves this award too, just because of how much he provides on the offensive end. But let's start out with saying first that when it comes to the amount of games that you're going to be able to play, Jimmy Snuggerud played more games than Robert Thomas already. And so you had more games of him, just sample size of him being able to score and generate opportunities for this team. And also, the guy just looked like a threat out there. Yes, he had 21 goals, which was not the team high. Robert Thomas had 25, Holloway 22, but 51 points total. He was second on the team in assists as well. Let's also factor that in too, not just scoring ability. But really for me, and I understand how the fans at least judge this award. It's just when he's entering the zone, as you said, and when he's firing shots off, like it could be from a nasty angle and like a weird shot, like on a one-timer like that he'll just fire. And somehow you'll get a hope that puck may go in, because of just how much heat he's got on it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's sort of the rationale with it. I think I like the pick. I think Robert Thomas deserved a little bit more than 30% of the vote there, just so I think this team would be nowhere offensively without him. But I respect the decision from the people for sure with Snuggerud.
Yeah, I think if everyone in the Blues arena is saying shoot it, yeah, that screams Jimmy Snuggerud to me. So that kind of describes that award. All right, what do we have up next?
Okay, we have the Defensive Wagon Award, which very similar to the offensive one, except it's all in the D zone. Who's just that wagon that you can rely on every single night, that is going to be consistent? He's not going to be turning over pucks a lot. He's going to be sound back there defensively. He's going to be playing on the PK. He could be even playing, some big minutes, obviously, on 5-on-5. So the nominees for Defensive Wagon Award are the following. Colton Parayko, the Team Canada in the Olympics. You had Philip Broberg, a Swede, on the Olympics as well. And Cam Fowler.
Wah, wah, wah.
I will preface this with saying that Cam Fowler did not get much of the vote for this award. But I really didn't have many other options here to pick from. So the winner for the Defensive Wagon Award is Philip Broberg.
Woo!
Yeah. This one I feel like is expected.
I don't even think we really need to talk about it that much.
No, I don't think so either.
This one's extremely self-explanatory. I don't even think Parayko just didn't have a good enough year to even compete with how well Broberg played this year and how big of a step he took.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think his offensive numbers are going to keep getting better, but this is a Defensive Wagon Award, so it doesn't even matter.
Yep.
Broberg, well-deserving, and I think he's only going to get better.
So, but in talking about Broberg, he was the leader this year in turn of defensemen and time on ice. He averaged about 23 minutes and 21 seconds a night. Cam Fowler and Colton Parayko were right behind him. Fowler was at 21 minutes. Parayko was at 22. So, Broberg was eating the most minutes of anybody. And I remember there was a lot of games this year where, man, he's over 25 minutes that he's getting out there. And that's a lot for him to have to deal with. And but again, it shows just how much trust that this team is, sort of having with him and Montgomery and the coaching staff too and upper management. It's like, this guy's kind of the future. And I think people started to realize it last year, but I think now with how bad the team was offensively, it's like, all right, there's a lot of stress now on your defense. And they had to rely on him a lot. And I think ultimately he proved to be unreal with how he handled it. So very deserving for Philip Broberg, Nick.
Yep, totally agree. And for our next award, we have the Brick Wall of the Year. So our nominees are Jordan Bennington, Joel Hofer, and Colton Parayko. Again, not one that I don't think that requires too much discussion, but the winner is Joel Hofer, and should come as no shock, even though Colton Parayko certainly did have a ton of blocks this year.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess you could make a case for that. But relative to what Hofer was able to do in the net, I don't think it's relatively close. And another well-deserved award. I guess he hasn't won yet, but it was a nominee and won. A deserved award and 910 save percentage, 24-13 record on a team that wasn't very good, like I said before. And had, I think, top 5 in goal save above expect, top 10 in the NHL. And you got to love, what is he, 24 years old? Mm-hmm. You got to love where he's trending, especially as Bennington takes a step back. Hofer is kind of assuming his role as the main goaltender for the Blues. So exciting times ahead for Joel Hofer, I hope.
So in the last nominees, Broberg got 84% of the vote, which is
it's overwhelming,
outstanding number.
Yeah.
Joel Hofer, 94% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
That is, and not surprising.
I mean, we need to get a hold of the 4% that voted for Jordan Bennington.
2 votes for Jordan.
Put them in an asylum.
I would love to know who those people were.
Asylum.
But I think it's those people, and I don't blame them. That those people are very interested in just saving the Jordan Bennington fandom. They have that soft spot, and I still too. Because of just the fact of 2019 and what he's done for this franchise. Did some awesome stuff. But when it comes to the sake of this award, he doesn't deserve it, unfortunately.
No, he does not.
For $6 million a year, he's your number one. You try to be your number one goalie. He's not that anymore. And Joel Hofer is certainly the guy in net next year, probably taking most of the minutes, even if Jordan Bennington actually stays, which is going to be a very interesting off-season topic. But, okay, we're moving along nicely here. Our next topic is the breakout player of the year. This is when it kind of gets a little interesting. And I think it's – well, actually, I would say there's a pretty clear one here with the nominees. But I think that you could have made a case for at least one other of these players of the nominees. So the nominees for breakout player of the year are the following: Jimmy Snuggerud, Jonathan Berggren, Dalibor Dvorsky, and Logan Mayu.
I'm not going to call him Jonathan.
Yeah,
it's going to be Jonathan for me. Yeah, you do it.
Well, that's the pronunciation.
I can't do it.
Well, we're this one I think anybody could be guessing who's probably going to be winning this award. And with a very good portion of the vote, 81%, the award goes to Jimmy Snuggerud.
Second award of the day.
Second award of the day. He's having himself a wonderful day. Breakout player of the year and offensive dog thus far for Jimmy Snuggerud. Did not get nominated for MVP, but he's going to be taking a lot of awards home, it seems like. So with 81% of the vote, Berggren had about 9%, Dvorsky had 9%, Mayu nothing under him.
Shoot.
And I think that's valid. But what do you think?
Motivation for next year.
I think so too.
Breakout player of the year.
I hope the thing is the players will never watch this ever. But man, I feel like it would give them a lot of motivation.
There's an empty spot in the trophy case for them.
There sure is. There sure is. We'll have trophies probably made out eventually.
We should.
But I will say we've highlighted enough with Snuggerud with his abilities here, and can't wait to see what he can do with the first line. And I think the reason though why Jimmy Snuggerud is able to succeed so much, I think we just have to say is just because of the people who he was playing with. He couldn't have broken out as a player if he was playing as much with Braden Shen and Jake Neighbors. You just wouldn't have gotten it with him. Hell, Jordan Kyrou and Pavel Buchnevich probably the same way.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, so I think that the breakout player of the year ultimately in this case comes down to who he was playing with, and he got paired with some great guys in the last 30 games of the season, and he had a wonderful March and April.
Yes, he did. He did. Congrats to Jimmy Snuggerud.
Now, before we move on with Berggren and Dvorsky, I think you could have made a case with Berggren just because of what we didn't have to give up anything to get him. He was a waiver addition.
Yeah.
So I think you could have made a case for him. But Dvorsky, for me, you just can't give him the award. He just didn't break out this year.
No, I mean, he was there.
He was there.
I don't think he broke out. Had some good moments, but I wouldn't consider that even in the same universe as even Berggren, but much more Snuggerud. So, yeah, he's got some work to do. But again, leave that trophy case empty and fill it up next year, Dalibor, because expectations are still high.
Yep.
And for our next award, shout out Panger, the Holy Jumpin' Improvement Award. Different from the breakout. It's just like year over year improvement, pretty much. There's only 2 nominees in this one.
Let's preface in saying that there wasn't a lot of options.
I probably would have added one more.
Who would you have added?
And it wouldn't have been year over year, but would have been throughout the year improvement. Mayu.
Yeah. Okay.
So our nominees are Joel Hofer and Tyler Tucker. I don't think Tyler Tucker is probably in this conversation. Of course, like he wasn't bad, but the winner is Joel Hofer, and it's not relatively close in this one. And he also improved vastly. He also got a lot more starts, and we've talked about him kind of a lot already. So not many other words need to be said. He was fantastic for 5 months of probably the 6 or 7 that were this season, and I much improved year over year in his larger role that he has now. Yeah,
and the only reason why that I had the inclusion of Tyler Tucker here on the nominees because the guy just played a lot more minutes with the team, and you were expecting that because Ryan Suter, who was kind of in his spot in that bottom pairing, he left, so you knew that it was going to come down to him at least to have some of those bottom pairing minutes. And, he played 69 games this year and had 17 points. And, he had his career high was 7 before that.
Yeah.
So that's improvement right there for me in terms of the stat card. I think he's a grinder out there too, just to he's never going to get above that, bottom pairing. I don't think like if he's on a blue the rest of his career, which he probably won't be, he still will probably get a lot of NHL minutes. Just he won't be in any roles bigger than that.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have much offensive upside. But I don't think when we're out there, watching a game, I don't think a lot of us say, "Hey, what is Tucker doing out there?
Get this guy out of here."
I don't say that a lot. I say that about other defensemen, but I don't say it about Tucker.
Well, I said that about Mayu pretty much the first 3 months of the year.
Correct.
But I noticed myself saying that much less throughout the year after that. So that's why I maybe throw him in there. But yeah, no, I agree on the Tucker thing. He definitely had a better season. I just think it was kind of masked by, how bad, a couple of those guys on the defensive end were for a while. But and the goalies especially too. But yeah, no, I think Hofer is well deserving here. Though.
Okay. And then this is when it gets fun. This one gets fun.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Holy Jump and Improvement Award, 96% of the vote for Hofer. 4% say Tyler Tucker. Saw those stats, and they were like, yes, give that guy to me.
Those guys check.
That's an improvement. The Klim Kostin Award. Now, we didn't have this award last year. We didn't even have most of the awards here last year. We had different names. But I kind of wanted to name it, just have some more fun names with this. Name that to somebody that's really known to the organization and to us, who has a special place in our hearts in very different ways. Klim Kostin has a special place in my heart for being one of the biggest letdowns ever, and at least my history of watching Blues intensely. First round pick, the guy, and I think you can put Scott Perunovich kind of like right in there as well, but still not on the same level as what Klim Kostin was. Just remember all the hype that he had coming out of that 2019 year, where it's like, all right, we're set, we're giving a Kostin. Kostin's coming up. We'll see what he can do. And what a travesty he was as a player. And I don't even know if he's in the league anymore, to be honest.
I don't know.
He was on the Oilers for a second. But check on that. I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
But here are the nominees for the Klim Kostin. Was he on the team?
He plays in Russia.
So he's in the KHL.
He is Russian, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But the nominees for the Klim Kostin Award are the following: Jordan Binnington, Colton Parayko, Cam Fowler, Pavel Buchnevich, and Jordan Kyrou. And again, for more insight on the Klim Kostin Award, the biggest letdown of this year, most disappointing player that was out there for the St. Louis Blues this year. And I think you could make a case for any of these players on this list.
I was about to say this one better be tight.
It was tight
because plenty of these guys. I'd probably say 3 of the 5 nominees could easily have won this award.
Agreed.
And yeah, all right.
So the winner by a margin pretty good of 42% of the vote, Jordan Kyrou, the winner of the Klim Kostin Award. And very close second, 36%, Pavel Buchnevich. Jordan Binnington, 20%. Of the vote. So he was in third place, which is, I think, good for him to not end up as our award winner here. But we talked about Jordan Kyrou for days and days and days and days about his performance this season, but his stats just were atrocious this year. And you saw kind of everything that they were building toward with him, that he had such a better defensive and overall year last year. Remember, he was in the pluses for the first time in his career last year. And he was not this year whatsoever. So Jordan Kyrou's final total, 72 games. He missed 10 with injury, 18 goals and 28 assists, 46 points, and a -5 for Jordan Kyrou. And he averaged about 15 minutes a game. Now, the only reason that obviously the Klim Kostin Award is like disappointing, we have high expectations for him. And just take a look at what he did last year compared to this year. 36 goals, played in all 82 games, had 70 points last year, and a +23.
Yeah.
And you just lost all the goal scoring ability, right?
You did.
Season.
There was an injury in there.
Yeah, there was.
But yeah, I mean, extremely disappointing year. I still probably would say Buchnevich is worse because he's coming off back-to-back really, really disappointing seasons. Yeah. And in terms of what I always view it as how much are we paying him? And we're paying Kyrou and Buchnevich relatively the same amount at this point. And Buchnevich to have back-to-back bad years and also play in more games and have less points than Kyrou did this past year. That to me is just screaming more disappointing. But I get why Kyrou won. It was pretty sad to watch, and they clearly can't really play on a line together either, which contributed to both of their struggles, I would imagine. Absolutely. Not everyone can play with Robert Thomas, so as a result, those two's performance levels are probably going to drop off. But I think Bennington could have easily won this one as well. He was one of the worst goalers in the NHL.
The worst in goals saved above.
Not to say he was the best goal in the NHL the season before, but he wasn't that bad. No. Parayko didn't score a goal until like January 31st. That was awfully disappointing. Yep. Fowler, him and Mayu were literally the bad news bears back there for a long time. Goodness. But they eventually did figure it out, and Cam actually played a lot better the last few months of the year. Yeah, and so did Parayko. But in my opinion, I think Bennington, Kyrou, and Buchnevich are the most worthy, and I think Buchnevich should have won, but I get why Kyrou did win.
Yeah, and I think with I guess the rationale among the voters was that you kind of count on 30 goals a year from Jordan Kyrou, right around that, 30 to 35, and you get more with other seasons. It did after last season with Buchnevich, you weren't expecting that, at least. Maybe you were expecting a little bit of a rebound at some point, but you didn't get it. But I think for people it was just they weren't expecting the kind of season that Jordan Kyrou would have, especially after the consistent 30-30-30s the last 3 seasons. Whereas Buchnevich has been a slow decline, over the years. And Buchnevich first year, I remember saying this in one of our last episode, first year since 2018-19 where he's been in the minus as a player.
Minus 10.
Minus 10. Terrible. And by the way, Jordan Kyrou wasn't a minus 10 this year, mind you. And I will say Buchnevich got time on the penalty kill, so it's a different story.
Yeah.
But still, I'm with you on that. I think that can go either way.
They had a very bad penalty kill as well, so it's not as if like I'm going to actually say, oh, well, he's on penalty kill, so you should excuse him for that. It was a bad penalty kill. That's why it was so bad for him too. But yeah,
agreed. All right, move on to the next. This is another fun one.
Yeah, our next award is the Patrick Berglund Award. So just a frustrating player to watch on the ice. Some pretty competitive names on here. Kind of an overlap of the previous award, but it is a little bit different. So our nominees are Pavel Buchnevich, Jordan Kyrou, Colton Parayko, and Logan Mailloux. So we have a new one that's arrived to the party of nominees. So we have Logan Mailloux has entered the chat. But again, multiple people potentially deserving of this award. But the winner is, for the second time of the day and second award of the day, Jordan Kyrou. I think this one is more relevant and makes more sense to me than the previous award because Kyrou does have golden opportunities sometimes to score. He has like an effort level issue sometimes, it seems, and fails to get back in very critical moments. I think his defense has improved, but I still think he's extremely frustrating, especially when you take away 18 goals from the previous season. Now, what did he have? 36 the year before? Yeah. So you take away, you cut the goals in half. And you make him just kind of a one-way player where you almost seem like he's almost playing defense more than he is offense and how he's contributing. It's extremely frustrating. I still think Buchnevich doesn't really scream at me like God. Well, no, I would actually say he's actually very deserving of this award as well, because Buchnevich also has a lot of great opportunities to score, and it doesn't really seem like he really has that in his bag anymore. I don't really put Parayko in this category, honestly, but Mailloux, absolutely. One of the most frustrating watches maybe of the year. And I think he could have won this as well.
So my rationale for making the nominees for this is like that. So there's another award coming up. That's similar to this as well, but a little different, is that when you're watching this game, you're like, gosh, what you're doing is really annoying me right now. Like, just why are you like for Jordan Kyrou's sake? Like, you're entering the zone and you attempt to enter, you immediately turn over the puck. It's like, that's frustrating to me. And then Pavel Buchnevich is like, oh my gosh, you have a great opportunity on a one-timer on the power play, and you whiff it. And that happens a lot. So just his finishing ability, that frustrates me.
Yeah.
Colton Parayko, it's like on the back end, it's like, what is he doing?
Parayko's is awesome because he just has a wicked slap shot, right?
Yeah,
And it's
shooting,
fast as heck,
yeah.
and it just goes right into the chest
Right.
almost every single time. And
but not even offensively. Talking about like defensively for Parayko, it's like, gosh, what are you doing with that puck right now? And then Mayu, that speaks for itself. The percentage here, Jordan Kyrou, 47% of the vote here. Buchnevich with another second place finish. So he wants to be on the list as an award winner, but can't crack it just yet.
Yeah.
And then Colton Parayko, Mayu with the least amount of votes on here as the most frustrating player.
Yeah.
Not sure how that really
maybe people
works.
just give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know. Expectations are lower for him.
Yeah. So that is the Patrick Berglund Award. Very interesting one.
Yeah, no, that's a fun one. And for our next one, we're going to move into a different kind of segment here. We have, awards. More fun. The Nathan Walker Award.
Yeah.
Who competes the hardest? Who changes the fabric of the game and brings the most energy? And our nominees, one will not surprise you. We have Nathan Walker, Alexei Torpchenko, Braden Shen, and Jake Neighbors. I have my own thoughts about who should probably win this one, but the winner, unsurprisingly, is Nathan Walker. Yeah. Congratulations to Nathan Walker on winning his own award. A little bit selfish, if you ask me. But Nathan Walker obviously does bring it on the fourth line. He's extremely physical. Certainly not the most talented, but that's not why you win this award. Yeah. So, I definitely think last year I would give him this award 10 times over.
That's why I named it. Yeah.
But this year was a little bit different. It felt like he just wasn't playing as much this year.
Well, he didn't. Yeah.
If I had to give my honest opinion on who kind of deserves this award this year, I would say Jake Neighbors. Neighbors isn't. I just think he's a dog and he's extremely physical, a good leader. Again, not the most gifted offensively, but I would definitely put him in a category well above Nathan Walker. So, I would probably give it to Jake, but again, they play different games. So
we almost had to set a threshold for this, Nick, because he only played in 46 games this year.
Yeah, maybe he should be disqualified from this award.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would also give it to Jake Neighbors as well, but average about 12 minutes of ice time. But the reason why, I wish he would have played more because I think we would have seen those hit numbers a little bit like last year. Remember, he was second in hitting last year, which is so crazy how small he is in stature. But that's why the award's named after him, because he's just a grinder. He's gritty, and you got to love him, but especially when he plays. But he doesn't give you a lot offensively, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Nathan Walker Award. He gets his own award. Congratulations. This is an interesting one. So I did not poll the fans here. This was the rest of the awards here were made by us and picked by us. So we have a couple awards for the best goal of the year. So we're going to cue it in the B-roll right now.
The corner, Lafferty coming, rink white suitor knocked it away. Loose spring, Toropchenko. He's in on a breakaway. Shoots, score! Under the pass out high for Fowler. Fowler for Thomas. Thomas scores! It's over. 10 seconds to go. Up to Holloway. To the front of the net. 5 remaining. He scores! Back to Kyrou. To Buchnevich. Far wing. They score! Snuggerud!
The winner of the best goal of the year is Dylan Holloway's OT goal with 2.5 seconds left against the San Jose Sharks.
A win against the Sharks actually meant a lot too.
It did.
So there's a little bit more
kind of
meaning.
put the Sharks out of contention in that game, or at least very much hurt their chances.
Yeah.
But also very honorable mentions as the others, and that you saw there. But Nick, why don't you introduce the most prestigious award I think that we can have here?
Yeah. To the victor go the spoils on this one. The You Suck Award. I just think this is for people that had multiple moments of, oh my gosh, what in the world are you doing? Type situation, unless there's another way to describe it.
No, and also just it's not saying that they suck as players.
No, just moments.
It's saying it's those moments when you're watching a Blues game and you just say to this player, you suck. This guy sucks. You don't actually mean it, really. But if it's consistent, then sometimes you say it a lot. And I think we said it a lot about these certain players.
Sure. And the nominees shouldn't be too surprising for the listeners. We have Logan Mailloux, Jordan Bennington.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I was going to say Bergen shouldn't be in there. Justin Falk and Oscar Sundqvist. So all deserving. All really have their own individual moments throughout the season. But the winner is, and this is certainly, I think, the right call by us, Logan Mailloux. Yeah. So clap it up for Logan Mailloux. Maybe had the most frustrating first 2.5 months of a career on the Blues that I can really ever imagine. Yeah. Just like boneheaded play after boneheaded play. He got, I think, much better as the season went on. But he still had those plays. Like I would hate to say that he eliminated that from his bag. It's still there. But yeah, I think that one's deserving. Bennington and Falk are very much known for having those types of plays as well. Bennington just had horrible games this season, so deserving too. And Falk, yeah, we know that Falk was capable of that.
Right.
So
right. And I think Justin Falk was the winner of last year's You Suck Award.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't give it to him 2 years in a row. It's just like he's just not deserving of that.
And you don't want to kick him while he's not a Blue anymore.
He's not a Blue anymore. You don't want to do that.
No. Give other people opportunities in this world.
Now I will say with Mailloux, it was a tough first couple games, and so much so that they set him down after like the first month and a half or something like that, and he came back up eventually. But a lot of it has to do with who he was playing with Cam Fowler. That was just the bad news bears, as you said earlier. It was just atrocious for the longest time. And it's hard to figure it out. But I think the inherent you suck though about this is that combined with his lack of defense and just he was not able to succeed well on the back end at multiple points. But it was the combined factor of, okay, well, maybe he could at least do something offensively, and he did nothing. Because like maybe you would expect it's like he could be a tall version of Torrey Krug, where he could at least have some offensive ability and provide that, but maybe not be the best defender, right? And just taller. But that wasn't the case at all. He was not. He was not. I wouldn't say the worst of both worlds, but he at least did not have both of those factors whatsoever.
No, totally agree. And again, I think he got a lot better as the season went on, but man, it did take a long time for traction to happen and then to switch up those deep pairs. Oh man. Yeah. So yeah, that was a tough one. Yep. And I do think he deserves it. And I would hope that he doesn't get it next year.
Agreed.
Is that you?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Best game of the season. There weren't a lot of these to pick from.
No.
Oh, wait,
most forgettable.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. You're right. I scrolled down once. Excuse me. We got the most forgettable Blue. This one, it's actually a really interesting one because the trade deadline really brought a lot of different faces here. And I think for Blues fans that aren't really involved as much with what's going on, day to day with the team, they would never even notice these players out there. So I'll throw one out there as our nominees. One of them, Pius Suter, who we said for a while, it's like we never really talked about him on the podcast. He missed some time with injury, so that was a partial reason for it. But like, I think you can maybe count on, one hand the amount of times we mentioned Pius Suter, on our podcast. We talk a lot about Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, everybody. Yeah, Pius Suter, who was supposed to be a top 6 player for us, we didn't really talk about him that much. And then Jonathan Drouin, as another one who was acquired in the Shen trade to the Islanders. Justin Hall. People forget about Justin Hall, who was acquired in the Detroit trade for that sent Justin Falk there. And then also, people forget Nick Bjugstad.
Yeah.
Nick Bjugstad was a Blue at one point. Very short-lived career, and it was a trade to New Jersey. Was that January around then? That we let him go?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was an interesting one. I think this was a tough one for us to pick because There's, I think, easy options, but I think the winner of the most forgettable blue is Jonathan Drouin.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think this can go to I think it could go to Pius Suter too, and any of these players easily. But just like for a day-to-day fan, like you may not recognize that these players exist in this team at all. They just don't contribute a lot.
For sure. I mean, Pius Suter, I just looked at his stats. He had a plus 13 on the ice. That's pretty impressive. 13 goals, 19 assists. So you don't notice him all that much out there because he's not extremely flashy, but I still like him as a player. Justin Hull actually played pretty well in his little short stint with the Blues. Bukestad, not extremely noticeable, and I would say he's just so big that maybe you notice him through that lens. But yeah, I don't think most people are going to remember that he was on the Blues.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I will say before we move on to the best game, the unfortunate thing about Pius Suter, and I think this is the reason why people kind of blocked him out of memory, and maybe you and I too, was that, coming into this, he played in 81 games the last year and had 25 goals for Vancouver. Yeah. So it's like, this guy could be something for us.
Yeah.
And be we were really looking for that center position to be more well figured out. And we thought we got it with him. You get a goal scorer like that with 25 goals, and he doesn't get close to that. He ends up with 13. But that has less to do with most forgettable, but I thought I had that comment with Suter because I think it's important when we think about him. Yeah,
no, I agree. All right, we're going to move on to something a little bit more fun. The best game of the season. So we have a few nominees here. All were a blast. Excuse me. Okay. January 29th, first, the Florida Panthers. The Blues got a 5-4 win in overtime. An extremely back and forth and fun-filled game. January 13th against Carolina, Joel Hofer shut out with 33 saves and a win 3-0. Was that at home? Yeah, it was at home, right? Because they had another one at Carolina that Bennington stood on his freaking head.
I think you're right. I think that was at home. But keep going.
Okay. And then a 3-2 road win against Colorado on April 5th. And Thomas's first ever hat trick, which is kind of a crazy stat. Yep. And then a Blues 3-2 OT win against Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers, capping it off with Thomas's OT goal on March 13th. That was when the boys were really starting to buzz. So that was a fun little time. And the winner of the best game of the 2025-26 season is the Blues win against the Florida Panthers, 5-4 OT win, in a really, really fun game on January 29th.
Yeah.
Really tough. Honestly, all those games were pretty fun.
Yeah.
So it is hard.
Probably the four best ones too. That there really weren't any other better options than those. I can't really think of any of these on the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the Panthers one's a great choice. I remember watching that in my room, and it was a buddy and I, and we had some money on the game, and he was trying to bet on the Blues. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, this was January 29th. They're not good.
They're still bad.
They're still really bad. And the Panthers aren't good really either, so it's going to be a good matchup. They're still like the 2025 Stanley Cup champion, right? But just the back and forth. And then ultimately Jimmy Snuggerud gets that goal with, 15-something seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a one-timer, just nasty. From him, and they had the retros, the rock. I liked when they wear. They
look
retros,
pretty cool.
Dude. People don't like the retros because the red and all that. And they're not traditional Blues colors, but I like when they rock them out there, and they rocked them in this game. So, but I will say honorable mention though is that Thomas hat trick. That was awesome
against the Avs.
Yeah, I remember I was watching that here. I was in for Easter, and remember we watched the Ducks game on the live watch along.
Yep. And
the day after, it was a back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
So they flew straight from Anaheim to Colorado against, President's Trophy winner. And they come in there, and it's not like that. Yeah, Joel Hofer plays outstanding in this game, by the way, but they played really well. It's like they can match up with these guys, surprisingly enough. Now, they were without Cale Makar in that game, I think. So,
well, you just have to go to the 2 nights later when they played them in St.
Oh,
Louis
of
and they got
course.
absolutely destroyed.
Of course.
So yeah, the Blues would constantly bring you in, bring you out, bring you in, bring you out, and it was very emotionally traumatizing. Which, speaking of emotional trauma, you want to move to our next segment?
Worst loss of the season. And compared to the best game of the season, worst loss of the season, there was lots of options. It was hard to narrow it down, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But we figured it out. So first of all, our first nominee, opening night, 5-0 loss against Minnesota, October 9th. Do you remember this?
Minnesota.
Do you remember? I fly in.
Oh, yes.
Do the whole vlog to see that.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Man, there was like Stanley Cup aspirations in the air that night and just got blanked.
Horrible.
Yeah. It's
horrible. I think Bennington starts that night. It was atrocious.
It was awful.
8-3 lost at home to Chicago.
This is when things started to get really dark, though, if I remember correctly.
Hofer gets pulled. He lets up 7.
Yeah.
On October 15th, literally not even a week after the opening night loss. Remember they had 2 wins away in Canada, and then they come back at home for that. So horrible loss. And then these were the ones that stung the most, these next 2 nominees. Blues blowing 4-0 lead against the Detroit Red Wings, who end up winning the game 6-4 in regulation on October 25th. By the way, all in the month of October.
I don't even know how we made it through. I mean, just a gift from hell.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then this one did not happen in October. The Blues blow a 5-1 lead against Nashville, who ends up winning the game 6-5 in regulation.
I watched this one, I think the whole time, and then I had to turn it off.
Yeah,
but that 5-1 lead, I think they had played probably the best hockey I'd seen them play in months. I think, thinking to myself. And then things started to change, started to turn, and I'm like, well, surely they're not going to play this badly the rest of the game, and they'll manage to hold on to this. And then once Nashville made it 5-3, I'm like, I honestly think they're going to lose this game.
Oh, yeah.
And then not very short time later, they're losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I've watched a lot of bad Blues games in my life, and you could say, oh, they blew that lead. Like, you should never blow that lead. I'm like, oh, no. They deserve to lose that game. They played so well for that first 15-minute stretch of the game, and you're like, wow, like maybe they can turn this thing around, make another run at it. And then when they ended up blowing that, I was like, they had no business even being in that game by the end of it. It was disgusting. I think it's like one of the best nominees we've had all night.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
And to little hint there, that is our winner.
Yeah.
Of worst loss of the season, that Nashville blown 5-1 lead. Now, just for perspective, by the way, so the Blues open the scoring 1-0. Jake Neighbors gets on the board, 14th of the year. Ryan O'Reilly ties it with on the power play 1-1, and then a Blues onslaught. Buchnevich, 2 goals, makes it 3-1. Philip Broberg has a goal, makes it 4-1. Parayko gets his first goal of the year of this game at the time. So it's 5-1 with only 3:55 elapsed in the second period.
Too much time.
Way too much time.
Yeah.
And then disaster starts to unfold. Michael McCarron makes it 5-2, 5-3. Philip Forsberg. O'Reilly scores again, makes it 5-4 in the third period. So that literally 2 minutes elapsed in the third period. It's now 5-4. And then Steven Stamkos ties it 5-5 with more than 10 minutes to go. And then Stamkos again. Yeah. 6-5. And that's the game.
Yeah, I think, was that the last game before the break, or was there another one?
There was one more game in Dallas, and we lost that one too.
And they lost that one.
We remember that was the blown lead. That was the blown one in the last couple minutes.
Yeah, we really ended on a very sour note going into the break.
Man, it couldn't have been worse.
Actually. Yeah, the Nashville game just completely sucked the soul. I remember saying that, I think, after when we recorded, I'm like, that just sucked the soul out of me entirely.
Hofer played that game as well, which was
honestly, I don't even blame him for that one.
That was just the team in front of him.
Horrible.
But Nick Bukestad, that was one of his last games as a Blue, I think, as well.
Makes sense.
This starting lineup in this game: Braden Shen, Torpchenko, Snuggerud, Suter, Kyrou, Berggren, Dvorsky, Neighbors, Sundquist, Matthew Joseph. We forgot. He should be a most forgettable here. Sorry.
Matthew Joseph.
I totally forgot. Yeah. He may just win that award. Nick Bukestad and Pavel Buchnevich.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
different team. Yeah. That is crazy.
Dang.
All right.
Well, and Robert Thomas didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
So
that was when he was hurt.
So yeah, worst game of the season. That was a fun one.
Yeah, that was really bad.
All right, well, we'll close it out here with the future looking awards.
The future awards. Exciting. So the future face of the franchise award. So yeah, who's going to be that guy for this team moving forward, and not the current ones that are already really good, like Robert Thomas.
Yep.
So our nominees are Jimmy Snuggerud, Dylan Holloway, or Adam Juracek. Juracek, very, very early, a little bit premature to throw him in there, but of course, I don't see why not. There's high expectations. Holloway, he's already been on the team for a couple years, but certainly young enough to qualify for the award. Yeah, and just signed the deal. And you also have Jimmy Snuggerud, came on extremely strong, 21 goals. What is he, 21 years old? So he's entering his now third NHL season, but pretty much it's only been 2. So kind of his second. He only played at the tail end of the first season. And the winner is, the future face of the franchise is Jimmy Snuggerud.
Not surprising.
Dylan Holloway could certainly, be in contention with this one. I just think it's kind of a different situation for the both of the players. And I just think the offensive prowess of Snuggerud gives people more of an inclination to say that.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think that we saw at multiple points, and I remember you said it on a couple podcasts, was like, man, this guy is just gonna be so good. He can be so good. It's just, if he really pans out, we're in for a really fun next couple years with him. So I'm not surprised at all by this award. And excited about Juracek, though. We talked about that in our last episode, and I think if you get him some time this next year, which if maybe a little bit at least, if he plays some AHL time, performs well, we'll see what he can do in the NHL. But yeah, I think Jimmy Snuggerud's the right pick here. 3 awards for Jimmy, and this, he'll be our award leader.
A lucrative time in this award show.
Yeah, and it may not be over.
Yeah, maybe a couple more.
It may not be over. Okay. And now this is an interesting one, and this was a new ad because this will kick off like our off-season stuff too. Is most important off-season question award, and there was a couple nominees. The nominees were goaltending. They were Kyrou, just quite Kyrou question mark, Robert Thomas question mark, or rebuild or / retool question mark. And the winner is Kyrou.
Also a really, really good performance in this award show.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Worst nightmare, actually, for this award show to be going this way with him dominating on the worst categories.
Yep.
But yeah, I think this is going to be the biggest question this summer. It's like, if you can trade him, which I don't know where the value is, then what are you going to demand? And is it worth it? And are you really going to say, hey, Jordan Kyrou may actually not be able to score 35 goals a year and not be worth $8 million, at least worth it for this team to continue to buy in on? Can he fit this system? And it's going to be a big question for Alex Steen this summer. I don't know how else to really square it. It's not Doug Armstrong really anymore. Maybe he has the final say, but I think it's Steen's team. And if I'm a betting man, Nick, and just how Steen is as a player, just remember him as a player. Like, it doesn't seem like him and Jordan Kyrou would really mesh well, on a team together anyway, if he was still playing on the Blues. So just knowing his style, I'm sure he probably doesn't prefer him that much. And I'm just speculating. And if that's true, maybe we see him dealt this summer. But what are we going to get in return? I have zero idea.
Yeah, you're not going to just give him away for free,
No,
right?
right.
He also has no trade clause, so he can kind of
So
dictate
he can do
wherever he
whatever
goes.
Yep.
I honestly have no idea how they're going to be able to navigate that one. I would assume they're going to want some type of pretty nice package back for a guy like Cairo who can score up to 35 goals a year.
Brady Tkachuk in the Senders.
Yeah, I don't really feel like that's going to happen
I
either. So it's kind of sad, but I think Cairo is the biggest offseason question, more than goaltending, just because you feel kind of comfortable with Hofer being there.
But with the Binnington question is certainly
no,
something.
certainly, yeah, I agree.
And Parayko probably could fit the list as well. You don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Either and how about just draft will be a very interesting topic. Like I almost like when that happens, like we should just do like a live thing there, because I have no idea what they're going to do. Are they going to keep the 11? Are they going to maybe trade 15 and then try and move up? Like, I don't know.
I really don't know either. You do feel like 11 and 15 is fine, but perhaps won't cut it for what they really need to do is like draft like a extremely, highly touted
and 32
young player and 32. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll see. I would love. Yeah, we should do a draft show of some sort and see how that. When is the draft?
It's come up in a few weeks. I don't know the exact date.
Okay.
It's after the season. But yeah, okay. And then you introduce our final award.
Our final award, the Puck Watching Player of the Year, and I feel like for me, the Puck Watching Player of the Year is someone who exceeds expectations, has a fun factor about him. And also kind of signals promise for the future. So like the kids are all right. Team's going to be okay as long as we have this person or that person. And we have two nominees for this one. Both youngsters, both already good Blues careers as it stands. But our first one is Jimmy Snuggerud. And our second nominee and final is Philip Broberg. Different players. Broberg's been in the league for a little bit longer than Snuggerud. Not as flashy, but certainly deserving, I think, of the award. So the winner of this Puck Watching Player of the Year award is Jimmy Snuggerud.
Wow.
Collecting the hardware on this award show. 4 awards.
And the most valuable.
Yeah, and the most valuable.
Wow.
I just think he hits that criteria and some.
Yeah.
So
no, I got nothing else. And I will say I want an honorable mention though, Philip Broberg, because I don't know where this team would be without him defensively. We said the same thing about Parayko. I remember a couple years ago, especially when we lost Pietrangelo and all of that. And he's the number one defenseman on this team easily. He eats up the minutes, as we were talking about earlier. And I think we saw him I think you saw how the rest of the league evaluated him through the lens of the Olympics because of how much time he was getting with Sweden. It's like he's a good defenseman, and it's not just for the Blues either. It's all around the league.
24 years old.
24 years old and is doing that too.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. So I'm all in on Philip Broberg, but I know that Jimmy Snuggerud absolutely deserves that award, and because there is no episode of Puck Watching without mentioning Jimmy Snuggerud.
Oh, gotta.
It's always he's
got some flash to him. That swagger,
right? And Jordan Kyrou, there's no episode without him being talked
about.
Yeah,
usually
always
at a different direction.
Connotation.
Yeah.
But that's it. We hope you enjoyed the Puck Watching Awards, the second annual. It was fun. Some good conversation, analysis. Hopefully, maybe you agree with the awards. Maybe you didn't. Let us know. We'll be doing plenty of social media with this when we post it. So thanks for tuning into this one. We'll be back more in the offseason as we prepare for the NHL draft to see what the Blues will do then. And will it be interesting? But we will see you then.